I went through the whole schooling system, right? From pre-K, kindergarten, middle school, high school, college, right? And growing up, I used to hate going to school, and I was one of those students who was actually good at school. Like, I was always considered top three, top five in my class. I was always on honor roll. I did really well on all my state tests, all my I did decent at the SAT and all of that, right? All the good stuff. And when you're in the school system, you understand that the school system sucks, but you need to go to school. Like I feel like in this current day and age, all over the internet, you'll hear people say like, "Oh, education is important. You need to always be learning this and that." And I feel like people tie school with education and learning, but it's not the same thing. School is school. Education and learning just means gathering new knowledge that you didn't know, gathering information from books, smarter people than you, videos, informative videos, whatever, articles. That's what learning is. Learning isn't tied to like you going to school, sitting for 6-7 hours and learning math about a history curriculum that you don't care about. That's not learning. Learning is gathering new information, typically about topics that interest you. And even if they don't interest you, you still need to learn things that are like the bare tools that you need. Like you need to learn how to do math, like the bare minimum. You need to learn how to read. You need to know how to write, and you need to know some of the history that's involved within the world or whatever the case may be, right? And like anything beyond that is like based off your own interest. But what I'm trying to get at is like when you're in the school system, you're like, oh, I hate going to school. I hate waking up in the morning, this and that. I'm learning about shit that I don't care about. My teacher sucks. The classmates suck or whatever, right? And like, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, college is not necessary. And, I think I made a video on like how important it is to go to college. I believe there's a lot of upside to going to college given your circumstance. It's different per person. And, based off how much upside you have, if you can limit the downside as much as you can, then it is worth it. And so for multiple reasons, and just like, if you're going to go to college, definitely try picking a career that has lots of job openings available. That's one. And second, that will give you an income that you're comfortable with. Like I see people going into school, going into debt for liberal arts, and you're like, what fucking jobs are in liberal arts? Like, what are you doing? And like, people will be like, if you're going to be a lawyer, doctor, accountant, like, yeah, definitely go to school because you need it. And you'll only get a job with those licenses, certifications, and that is true. But again, if you have like I'm in finance, right? And now finance isn't like a typical top 3 thing, but there always will be finance jobs because every finance is money, and money is involved in every business ever, right? And then like if you're gonna go to school for like business, is like really like these college teachers and professors that are gonna teach you about business, they don't even have a business themselves. You could probably learn more from YouTube. So like pick a typical major and just learn it and like have it at least as a backup, right? Just like so because you have this, you can always get a job in that field that just happens to pay like a good figure amount that you're comfortable with. Like if you go and become like a teacher and like that's what you get your major in, and you're like, oh, I want to make more than 50-60K a year, and you're like, well, fuck it, like you wasted 4 years of your life and you're going to fucking like you ruined everything because you chose to be a teacher. And it's like, if that's your passion, fine, I'm happy for you that you found your passion, but really understand how important it is that this is your passion. And like I say, you did this for 5-10 years of teaching, and like you enjoyed some classes some years or whatever, but at the end of it, you're still like not relatively financially free. You're working for the rest of your life, and is retirement worth it, and this and that. It's like, yeah, I know your passion is teaching, but could you have like done something else, anything else that could have made you a little bit more money, that would have given you a little bit more financial freedom? And I know money isn't everything, it really isn't, but I don't know, I know every teacher that's like, I'm passionate about teaching this and that, I'm like happy for you or whatever, but you also need to understand that this is at the end of the day still a job. So if you're gonna work this job, make sure you're comfortable with the amount of money you're making, because then you're just gonna end up complaining and being unhappy in the future as well. Nonetheless, if you can go into college without going into crazy amounts of debt, like if you're gonna go into crazy amounts of debt, you better be immediately getting a job that pays damn near as much as debt you took on. Like a doctor, like surgeons who go to school and they're like in $200,000-$300,000 in debt, they'll make that back in 2 or 3 years. But if you go in to be like a CPA or accountant and you go into debt or something, typically that's not a field. I don't know what fields they be like a teacher, I guess. Like if you had to go and get like a teaching degree and a master's or whatever, and then you go into debt, you fucked up. Like if you can limit as much debt as you can take, if you can limit the amount of debt you take on to go to school and almost as close to zero, then going to school will be worth it 99% of the time. Like me, I didn't take on any debt, and I knew from middle school. I remember when I said that I wanted to go like MIT or some bullshit, and I looked up the tuition. I said, oh yeah, fuck no, I'm never paying no fucking dollar for school. Like fuck out of here. And you know, so I went to school for free. I got paid to go to school, if anything. So, and it's like I chose a major in finance that will always be around. There'll always be a jobs available, and there's you can hit high six figure incomes. Even though I know you have to work a little bit more, but I'm willing to do that. I'd rather work 70, 80-hour weeks making a high six-figure income rather than working 30, 35 hours and making 40, 50K. Like, why the fuck would I could have made a 40, 50K salary without even going to college. And so it's like, at the end of the day, I know I'm going to a job to make money. So why, like, passion is important and being fulfilled is definitely important. But you can kind of build passion in anything if you do it for a long enough period of time and become good at it. Nonetheless, I went on a thing. The whole point of this was you need to go to school. And like I said, if you can limit the downside, obviously definitely go to college and even though these people online are like, yeah, you don't need college, you can start a business online, this and that. This is true, but you're putting on so much risk and pressure onto yourself, and you're almost guaranteeing no safety net, which in most cases is not worth it. Like, say your online business doesn't work, because most businesses, as you'll see online, like all these businesses are booming and they make so much money, but you're not seeing the 98% of people who fail business and they're not able to make any money online, and now they're having to work at McDonald's making $15 an hour because they decided, yeah, let me take on this big ass risk of not going to college. It's like, at least going to college, you get the bare minimum certificates to get like a above average income in whatever state you're in or whatever. And like, more importantly than money and all of that, I have noticed in people who choose to skip college, just talking to them, it's very, very obvious that they haven't not gone to college. And it's like, it's not even that like they don't know history or math, or it's none of that. It's like the soft skills that you learn that is so important. It's like time management, communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and just like even being like proactive. Like, when you're in college, you're essentially by yourself. You need to make sure you meet all your deadlines. You need to make sure you're doing the group work. You need to make sure you're talking to everybody. You need to make sure you're cordial, learning what task you need to do, making sure you're good with everybody. You need to make sure that you're joining the club that you need to. You need to make sure that you're ahead of your FAFSA and graduation applications and all of this bullshit, right? And like, people that don't go to college have never gotten this sort of like experience of soft skills that are needed, that are like when I'm in college, I'm not noticing like all these little things that I'm doing, like time management wise, but like when I tell other people that are also in college, like, wow, you're really ahead of all, like every homework that I've done, I've been a week or 2 weeks ahead, because I make sure I have it all in my bookmark bar, favorites, and I always set the date. So the due date is on the 12th, I make it say the 11th, and I always finish it on like the 3rd or 4th or whatever, because I don't want it to be in the back of my head thinking about it when I could be doing other things, right? So like, all these little skills that I have, they're all in terms of like time management and making sure I'm ahead. And when I'm in these group chats or like group Zooms and I'm talking to everybody, I'm like, okay, you should do this and I'll do this, and I'm making sure the tasks are properly equally delegated. I'm trying to lead as much as I can. I'm trying to be proactive in the sense that let's get this shit done so we don't have to worry about it. And it's like, people just don't even want to have that like leadership experience, whatever. I will, any chance I get to lead, I will lead, because people are just so slow with the way they work, and I'd rather work on my timing and take on that much more responsibility. If it all falls back on me, I'll do all the work necessary. And I've always been like that since middle school. And so when other people are trying to lead, they never work as fast and efficiently and properly as me, from what I've noticed, right? From these like other students. I know there's other definitely good leaders or whatever, right? But I'd rather always take on the responsibility, because I know that the way I operate is more efficient than most people or whatever, right? Nonetheless, these are all soft skills that you learn over time just being in college. And like I said, when you talk to someone who doesn't go to college or hasn't gone to college, you notice all these lack of soft skills. And it's concerning, because it's like, you don't even know how to do the bare minimum. So how can you expect yourself to move up or get more out of life? Like, you don't know. You don't treat other people, you don't know how to talk to other people because you never learned communication. You're never surrounded by other students. You don't know how to do group work because you think you grew up in a state where you did everything by yourself and everything was set up for you through high school and middle school. So that's how you think life is going to be, when it's not like that at all. You don't know how to manage your time or other people's time. You're not respectful. You don't show up. You don't attend class or whatever. Your attendance is bad, essentially, where you're not showing up on time. People are telling you to come at this time. You're not coming at that time. You're supposed to wake up at a certain time, get up, get the work done, and you're waking up in the middle of the day because you never, took attendance and like time management. All of this thing, like time management is like one of the most important things, and it's like overlooked. But everybody in successful positions will tell you how important it is to have these soft skills. And I know like nowadays, apparently, like when I'll read like how people review resumes, and like people who hire people, onboarders or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, we look for soft skills, because if you don't have these bare minimum soft skills, it's very, very hard to train you. It's very hard for you to move up. It's very hard to even have you as an employee. And it makes sense because, like I said, like if you have anyone in your life who hasn't gone to college, talk to them for a long period of time and you'll notice, or like even just identify and like analyze how they like operate, and you'll see the lack of soft skills within their abilities. You'll notice how small-minded they are. Like they don't like thinking. That's for one. Like I've really noticed that. Like I feel like when you're in college, you're forced to think critically. You're forced to think outside the box or whatever. These people that don't go to college, they like thinking within their box. They think that they're always right. They don't believe how, like they don't realize how big the world is and how much possibilities there are. So they only believe whatever's in their mind, and they're closed-minded and they're small-minded. So they don't believe how big it can be. And whatever you tell them, they won't have a debate with you where each side can be swayed. They want to have an argument where they can just defend their side, and they'll never change their opinion, even though that they're wrong. It doesn't matter, because whatever's in their head is the only thing that's correct. Nonetheless, I'm going on a tangent. It is very important for you to go to college so you can get the experience, you can get the soft skills, and you can get the bare minimum certifications to get a decent job, or just to have acquaintances, or just network, or the bare minimum. Like 4 years is not a very long time of going to school, and you can make it even shorter, right? And it's gonna suck when you have homework and tests and all of that. I understand all of that, but you've already been going to school for so long, you might as well continue and finish. And trust me, if you think you're gonna get a good job at 18, you're not. You're gonna get some bare minimum job, unless you became some sort of like the only other option for being like skipping college would be like going to like some school where you get licensed to work a job immediately, like aircraft mechanics, welders, electricians. If you can do that, that's good too. But again, you're still working for the rest of your life, and you're just happen to start working from 18 physically. And there's issues with those jobs too. Like welders get paid as much as they do because they take on so much lung intoxication, so they will typically have unhealthier lungs earlier in life. Electricians, they're overworked. Plumbers are overworked. And it's like all these other things. It's like going to college allows you to have the option to work with your brain rather than your body. And trust me, working with your brain is so much easier. But nonetheless, right? Go to college. The 4 years from 18 to 22 is not as long as if you had some shit job from 25 to 75. Like, really think about it like that. Like, imagine you had to work some shit job for 50 years because you chose not to go to college for 4 years when you could have been getting paid so much more. And like the experiences, the soft skill, everything that you gain, even like my college experience has not been great, but the soft skills that I picked up and developed, I know is going to continuously flourish and help me in my real life. So just for the soft skills and like the humans around you, the possible networking, the communication, everything that you gain from going to college is worth it for 4 years. If you can limit the downside, which means the downside is always taking on too much debt. If you can limit that as much as you can through financial aid, scholarships, or whatever it may be, do it and just go to college. It's definitely more worth it. And the school system isn't great. Hopefully it changes and gets reformed or whatever, but it's still worth it just for, like I mentioned.